Hello everyone, it's Jackie again with Jackie of All Trades, and thank you for coming back to my channel. I am continuing on my journey of renovating my kitchen. I'm bringing that cabinetry in there from the 1970s into the 21st century using materials from my local hardware store. A big star of today's show is going to be wood trim that I got from Home Depot. Let me show it to you here. There you go. So this is wood trim that is available at Home Depot in a 1/4 inch by 2.5 inches by 48 inches. I will cut it to the appropriate size for my cabinet doors. I will affix it to the doors using Loctite adhesive, and then I will use the Beyond Paint brand in my paint color choice of bright white to give the cabinets a nice finished look. Finishing it off with brushed nickel hardware, and I will reuse the hinges that I was using before. So with that, I think I'm going to be able to create a nice, sleek, modern look for my cabinetry, bringing it into the 21st century. It's not quite the same thing as brand new cabinets, but I think you'll find that it's the next best thing. So stay with me. I will tell you what I'm doing every step of the way, and hopefully you'll enjoy this show. I wanted to give you a quick glimpse of where we're going. Please direct your attention to these 1970s base cabinets, flanked by a cobalt blue Formica countertop and accessorized with blue plastic knobs, considered very contemporary in its day. I'm going to give these doors a much-needed facelift, converting them to an updated shaker style with modern hardware. Stay with me and I'll take you to every step of the process to achieve this look. It goes without saying that the first thing you need to do is remove the cabinet doors, but somehow or another I've lost most of that footage. But I did take them all down and give them a good scrubbing before I got started. Alright, I've already measured the cabinet doors to know what sizes are needed, and I'll explain those measurements momentarily. Right now all I need is my tape measure, a black marker to easily identify cut lines, a basic pencil, and the trim itself. What goes through my mind while I'm doing this? Basic things. My grocery list, what's for dinner, and how I'm actually going to cut these pieces to size. That's what's coming next. Now the cutting begins. Here's a tip. I try to do all my cuts outdoors because of the sawdust that's generated in the cut process. It's easy to sweep the dust off the balcony, plus I know it's going to rain a little bit later tonight. I'll do the same when it's time to sand because it cuts cleanup time in half, and I find it just makes cleaning up a breeze. I wanted to give a huge shout out to Crafting Cousins who introduced me to this awesome little table saw from Harbor Freight. This is the Mighty Mite table saw, and it retails for about $35–40. It does have its quirks, but I'd say overall it's well worth the investment. I'll try to remember to put a link to the product in the description below. I was able to get my entire kitchen done, and I cannot complain. I had originally done some funny editing tricks here on this portion of the video, but I think we'll skip over all the bells and whistles just to say that we're working on 3 cabinet doors right now, and each of them is 23 inches long. So we'll use right now 6 boards at 23 inches long, and with the widths of each of them varying, adjusting for the boards on the side, we'll have 1 set of boards at 14 inches each for the top and bottom, 1 set of boards at 13 inches each for the top and bottom, and 1 set of boards at 5.75 inches each for the top and bottom. And in the next frame, I'm going to explain more in detail how we're taking those measurements and how we're going to use the boards. All right, so for the visual learners among us, I have created a visual mock-up for you to see and understand the measuring that we're doing for our boards. And I can't tell you guys, stress enough how important it is to measure your doors and measure twice, because I learned that the door on the left is 18 inches while the door on the right is 19 inches wide. So there's a full inch difference between those 2 doors. While all 3 of these doors here are a standard of 23 inches long, that width difference is going to make a difference in the size of the cuts. And so how I measured the cuts, as I told you, the door on the left is 18 inches wide there, right here, 18 inches wide. But the boards on the left and right hand side are both 2.5 inches. 2.5 plus 2.5 is 5 inches. And so that means that though I have an 18-inch length, I have to subtract 5 inches because they're going to be taken up by those sideboards, which would leave me a 13-inch board in the middle on the top and bottom. Same here on this side, 2.5 and 2.5 is 5. At 19 inches across, you take 19 minus 5 and you get 14 inches for the board on the top and on the bottom. Down here, it's a much smaller, 10.75 inches, not quite 11 inches. And so with my left board at 2.5 inches and my right at 2.5, that is 5 inches. So 10.75 minus 5 is 5.75 inches for this bottom board and for this top board. Okay? So now you will be able to see what it looks like. Now don't blink or you're gonna miss it. All right, and there you have it. I told you not to blink, so if you did, it's your own fault. But we've put the boards in place and you can see the different sizes that I'm talking about and how well they just fit into place there. So what we're gonna do now, because they're just kind of placed on here at the moment, I'm going to go ahead and glue them down. And once the glue is nice and dry, I'll caulk it up, sand, and then we will paint them out and put the hardware on. Okay, so we've reached the step where it's time to glue the boards on. I'm not using any nails or staples here, just Loctite adhesive, because I found that this glue is serious business. Loctite gets the job done and gets it done right. Sometimes I do need to use clamps to make sure that the boards stay in place, but I didn't find that to be the case this time. I'm just going to use the Loctite. I'll affix the boards to the doors and then give them a few hours to dry before sanding, caulking, and painting. A bit later, I'll actually do the caulking and then use some wood filler to soften the lines between the boards, but I didn't film that step. But you may notice the wood filler coming up in the footage where I'm sanding the boards. I'm not just painting the cabinet doors. I plan to give these base cabinets one fresh coat of paint as well. For ultimate adhesion, the surface must be clean of dirt, grime, and gunk. Unfortunately for me, after years, this cabinet is full of all three. So I'm using Crud Cunter spray and my cleaning and disinfecting wipes to give this entire area a thorough scrub. Now it's time to focus on the below base cabinet gunk. You guys, this area was so gross, I was almost too embarrassed to include the footage. I had to lay flat on the ground to thoroughly access this space, and I found random cardboard, old tape and glue, leftover paint, and what I can only describe as a mummified French fry down there. It was disgusting, but it's all in the name of new kitchen cabinets. No doubt my cabinets are thankful for the extra TLC. It's been about 5 hours and now we're ready to sand. I finished cleaning, caulking, and even added wood filler that you can see on the doors if you look closely. I'm outside now on the balcony, again for easy cleanup. Notice I don't have a traditional sander. I got this sanding attachment from Lowe's for about $10, and it allows me to use my cordless drill and 120 grit paper to get a semi-smooth texture on these boards. Okay, so now I'm about to dump the excess dust over the balcony into the grass below. I'll do a quick vacuum job as I see the storm clouds are rolling in anyhow. I think I'll let Mother Nature finish up the cleanup job out here for me. Back inside, I've wiped down the doors thoroughly to remove excess sawdust, and they've had time to dry. It's time to add paint, and I'm using the brand Beyond Paint in the color Bright White. I like the product because it requires no stripping, sanding, or priming to get the job done. It's got self-leveling properties, so I know the paint will dry to a smooth finish, and I'm not worried about uneven coverage or brush lines. It fully bonds and cures within 30 days, so it's scratch resistant and easy to clean with soap and water, and common household cleaners are safe on it as well. It's perfect for my kitchen cabinets. It is really difficult to tackle a reno like this one solo. I've been working on this project all day. While the doors are drying, I'm giving these base cabinets a single coat of paint to brighten and refresh them, and it's about this time that I notice I'm running out of steam and should probably hit the hay soon. But I have a bad habit of biting off more than I can chew sometimes, so I'm determined to press on. At one point, I actually thought I would get the handles on tonight, but the joke was on me. I'll get this coat of paint done, and I will actually put a second coat of paint on the doors in the morning, although I don't actually have footage of that step. This corner is tricky. I'm painting at an angle, you'll notice, so as to obstruct the camera view as little as possible. It's going to be an issue in installing the hardware as well. And this line in the corner of the cabinet really irks me. I think it looks more cohesive when there's not a wide fault line demarcating where one cabinet ends and the other begins. So I'll eventually address this with white caulk. Silly me. Right before turning in, I thought I'd take a quick 5 minutes to remove this outlet faceplate behind the trash can and quickly wipe down the wall. Well, the substance back there was some sort of nightmarish glossy plaster paint from Krypton. And someone had actually used the paint and painted right over the outlet and the cover at some point. Not only had it cemented the outlet faceplate to the wall and to the outlet itself, but the stains were permanently tattooed to the paint as well. I later had to chip the paint piece by piece to get the outlet cover off and just repaint the whole surface. But that was not happening tonight. Oh, I think I was going this way, right? Okay, so I have just made an executive decision for the night. That grime and stuff under where the trash can used to be, it is just too much work for right now. And I'm a little bit tired, and I had the dentist working in my mouth today. I've decided that since it's just after 10 p.m., that particular job is going to have to wait, and I'm going upstairs, getting in my pajamas, and I'm just going to chill. I'm going to check on those cabinet doors, how they're drying, and then I'm going upstairs. But we'll be back at this again tomorrow. It's nearly a full day later, and I'm fully rested and ready for the final push. I put another coat of paint on the doors in the morning, so they've had time to dry and are ready to remount to the cabinets. Now notice I didn't put the hardware on first, but that was deliberate. Experience with these doors has taught me that they're not always level, so putting the hardware on before mounting could result in an uneven appearance. Plus, the door magnets inside the doors are not uniformly placed, but I can only know how far off the mark they are once the doors are mounted and in position. From there, I can make the behind-the-scenes adjustments. You'll probably also notice at this point that I'm mounting 5 doors instead of 3, and that's because I had refaced 2 doors a little bit earlier. Rest assured, the process I went through was the same as the one that I did on the 3 doors that you've seen, and at this point it's just easiest to mount them all at the same time. Okay guys, at this point in the project, I'm getting really excited because I can see that the end is near. I have devoted a significant portion of my weekend to this, and I am so glad to see it finally coming together. Now that I've gotten the doors on their hinges, I'm going to go ahead and start putting the handles on the doors. I did want to put a quick plug in. Reventi, I think is what it's called, Reventi Cabinet Hardware. They've got these templates for pretty much any door style you can imagine, up to 128 millimeters wide. It's a door template. I think it even says so. Let's see. Make sure you can see it right. It tells you here that this is the door template. They have others for if you want to put pulls on your drawers, for instance. Yeah, it says their drawer template, or if you want to go out wide with those wider handles. It has been a lifesaver for me after a bunch of trial and error with horrible handles and also my inexperience. Well worth the $8 I spent on it. So I would recommend it to anyone. See that? That is the website, and definitely if you want to put handles on your doors, I'm going to be putting the handles on the doors using this door template, so please stay tuned. Marker template hardware, including these beautiful little handles. Let's rock. So I'm installing the handles now, and a skilled eye may notice the magnetic plate inside the door briefly appear and then disappear as I had to remove it for appropriate placement of the handle. It's just as I mentioned before, there is an issue with magnets not being uniformly placed in these cabinets, and that ended up being an area where I had to adjust it later. But it's a small hurdle in the overall process. As I'm marking and drilling the holes, I'm being very careful to drill as straight a hole as possible, because if my angle is off even by a little, I won't be able to get these handles properly installed. I also should mention that the extra 1/4 inch on my doors due to the new trim made standard screws too short, and so I had to go and buy longer ones at Home Depot. With these handles, experience has been a good teacher, and I'm feeling almost like a pro on handle installation at this point. But I didn't get here without my fair share of blood, sweat, and tears. All right, all, there you have it. I can personally attest to, I'm tired, that my phone is as tired as I am. Actually, I just got the less than 10% battery warning, so that means at just after 10 p.m. we are done with this. So I found a couple of issues that I'll have to address with magnetizing the cabinet doors over there under the sink, but that won't be a problem. Overall, I would call it a success. So until tomorrow, good night, everybody.